Hello and welcome to Buddha and the Coach vlog powered by Soul Performance Academy. I am your host, Dan Mickle. The Buddha and the Coach is a weekly vlog focused on looking at the teachings of the Buddha in a coaching light. The Buddha and the Coach is brought to you by ICN Athletics. It's called Normal Athletics, helping make the extraordinary ordinary through adaptive beach volleyball. Please visit their website at icnathletics.com and feel free to make a donation to their 501c3 corporation while you're there. Thanks again to John and Dave and everyone involved at It's Called Normal Athletics. All right, lesson 25 this week. Even as solid rock is unshaken by the wind, so are the wise unshaken by praise or blame. And I think this is, as most of them, a great one for us coaches because I think we lose sight of this. And just as this states, unshaken by praise or blame, a lot of time coaches can be shaken by good times and by bad times, by the parents, other coaches, and players being on their side, or vice versa, and the parents, players, and coaches against them. And we have to remember to stay steadfast in what our programs and our systems are. They're not always going to be popular, they're not always going to be accepted. But if we take the time to learn and go through our processes and what we want to do, then we should be able to stay course and keep on it. When I look back at my own career, some of the roughest times I've had is when I started to stray off my course. I started to get swayed by opinion one way or the other. I felt the tides were against me, so I would change up how I do things. Or maybe I got a little bit arrogant because things were going so well. And I realized that big swings either way are a problem. And as long as I stayed true to what my philosophy was, what the philosophy of the team and the program was, and my training methods, things always seem to go better. That can be really tough. It can be really tough both ways. It can be tough if you're a struggling coach and all of a sudden you find success. All of a sudden you start to listen to more people than you normally would, or you think, oh, I could get even further ahead or take it to the next level if I change and do this. And we end up going backwards a little bit. And it can also be the opposite way when you're a successful coach and you're having a down year or you're struggling with a particular year. You start to think that everything is going wrong and the wheels are falling off and the sky is falling, and you make all these wholesale changes. And really it was maybe just a wave, a blip on the radar, nothing major, but you made all these wholesale changes worried about it. So I think what we need to learn and what we need to take away from is we have to stay steadfast in what we're doing. If you have good policies, procedures, and people around you, stick with it. You're going to have those moments. You're going to have those times. You're going to have those seasons where things just aren't going the way they should. Maybe it looks like on paper everything should be working out and it isn't. And you're going to want to question everything you do. Am I the right coach? Am I the right person for this job? Are my policies changing? Is the generation changing? Maybe I change. And while there are times that there are generational changes, typically your good policies and what works for you are going to stay the same throughout your career. You may tweak a little thing here or there, or how you talk or connect with your players, but for the most part, the big parts of what you do and how you train will stay the same. And that's what we have to remember. We have to make sure that we're just not changing things on a whim. We also have to remember that a lot of what we do is out of our control. We can train, we can work, we can have the best methods, we can have the best kids and players, but ultimately there is an element of luck. Certain matchups, lineups, brackets, however you play your sport and get to the pinnacle of where you're going, can rely a lot on luck and how things match up, and completely out of your control. And we have to keep that in mind. And for the youth players, we also have to keep in mind that we're dealing with teenagers or really young adults, and we're basing a lot of decisions hoping that they make the right decision. So we know that doesn't always happen. So that's where we need to fall back on what our philosophies are, what our framework is, and what we believe in. And that's what's going to help keep us unshaken by the winds of change and desire. The other thing that we can do is make sure that we have that support group around us. A lot of times we feel like as coaches we're on this island. There's a bum rap, and I get it with parents and players and those conflicts that we have, but we need to have that support group, whether it's a peer group of other coaches or administration, or even parents that you agree with and can work with. But trying to be out there and doing it on your own as an island is just going to burn you out and in the long term make things a lot worse. So I find that the foundation of having those peers and those people around me that help lift and support me is by far the best way to stay unshaken. When you're having those moments or those rough situations, finding a coach or someone else that you can call and just bounce ideas off of. Again, too many times we get put in our own little bubbles and we're afraid to talk with a peer. We don't want to give our secrets away, or they're a competitor. And I have found that some of the best resources that I've had throughout my career are talking with my direct competitors, the people that I'm going to compete with every season, the teams that are tough to beat, are usually the coaches that I end up coming the closest with and working with. And I think that's the true value of our coaching world and our coaching network, is being able to talk to those coaches that you may battle with in the next week or so, or might have to play for a championship. Let's be honest, there aren't too many secrets out there in the coaching world. It's all about getting the right fit at the right moment for your team. So why not reach out to those coaches and talk to them and bounce ideas off them? Or if a coach calls you, why not help them? We don't need to play it so secretly and close to our chest. So I think we just have to take a step back and remember why we're doing this, how we do it, and what our processes are. And that's what's going to help keep us solid and unshaken, like the Buddha said. So again, lesson 25, even as a solid rock is unshaken by the wind, so are the wise unshaken by praise or blame. Make sure you're keeping a level head as a coach. Rise with the ups and downs and continue to work, and you'll be fine. Stick to your processes. Thanks, everyone. Again, you can check us out on all social media at Real Dan Mickle or at 717 Soul. Peace, much love. See you next week.